Oh my gosh, I never noticed that. That's hilarious. That's in
Yeah,
kind of
there's like loads of little like tiny sight gag. Like there's so much going on that you're just like, and animators, they're famous for slipping in little gags here and there. Um,
they said they had to
which is
cut a few
something they had done.
frames. Yeah, like
Yeah,
Betty Boop, they had to cut a few frames.
there were a few risque frames that the animators tried to slip by, but they didn't end up in the final cut.
Oh, some eagle-eye person caught it.
Yeah,
And I gotta say, Richard Williams, I mean, he won a Special Achievement Award for this movie, the animation direction. I mean, this guy, he made some work on this. I mean, it's just beautiful to look at. And then, but it's so cool how they gave him so much room for success too. I mean, they had, when the little baby Herman was
yeah.
baby Herman was smoking his cigar. That was just a real cigar and a robot arm.
Yeah, and they like built this like robot arm with servos so somebody could control it to make it look natural. It wasn't sufficient just that they could have it go up and down. They were like, no, this has to look natural, so we need to build this entire like servo rig that a guy can control the cigar so that it looks right.
You know what I love too? This would have been fun to work on because you can't give any excuses to Zemeckis or Frank Marshall or Steven Spielberg. This is one of those where it's going to work. You are going to make it work. And it would have been kind of neat to work on because, anything they kind of asked for, you sort of had to make work. Which I think, like, when they did the nightclub scene, they built the stage, what, 8 feet off the ground?
Yeah, so that the puppeteers could walk. They had room to like basically perform for the penguin waiters. Which is just one tiny little piece of the scene, but they had to build an entire set 6 feet off the ground just to accommodate how they were filming that.
And it's crazy. They said the Daffy and Donald scene was the hard. You saw this in the documentary. Like
Yeah,
that was the hardest to film. And it's funny too that they both had the same amount of screen time. And I do love the scene where Roger Rabbit and Mickey Mouse they had to have the exact same amount of screen time, and Mickey couldn't do anything evil, but Roger could.
or with
Which
Bugs.
yeah, and oh Bugs, I'm sorry, not
Yeah,
Roger Rabbit. Oh yeah, with Bugs when Bugs Bunny hands him the spare tire. Oh jeez
yeah.
Louise. But just watching Donald and Daffy together and like talking about the speech impediment and then the Scotch on the rocks. I mean, what a you know what too I like this is 88 and so PG and PG-13 had already been created. But this is still just a PG movie. So for 88, this is with PG-13 being created, this is about as risque as they come, is it not?
There are a lot of innuendos, I would say, but they are, I think, cloaked enough so that they got by the MPAA.
Yeah, I mean, it must have, right? I mean, that's actually how they got around the Hays Code, like in the 30s, 40s, 50s, just innuendo. So yeah, I guess like the
Well,
stuff she
yeah,
kind of said, I'm gonna
I
go
was
home and bake
watching
you a carrot cake.
I was watching a documentary about that. It was just on Netflix about like movie Hollywood cliches, and there was a whole bit about the Hays Code and how they got around it. Train going into tunnel. What does that represent?
That's almost more creative, right? They're like, here's all the rules. Now find a way to get around these. That
Yeah,
makes me so happy. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. But I think this is kind of a I can't say like, oh, these don't exist anymore, but I think types of these PG rated movies are good for kids. Like there's fun humor in there. I mean, adults want to go see it. It's kind of a four quadrant movie where, film snob will watch it, a kid will like it, an adult will like it, teenagers would probably enjoy it. Like they
but that's
really,
the thing, and that's where a lot of films fail these days is by not having that broad appeal.
hmm
You know, just because something's PG, it's like fine, no swearing, no nudity. It doesn't mean it can't be entertaining to adults.
yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to, dumb it down and make it really childish. You can still have some really clever humor, and you can still have like, you know, really fun action bits, and you can have like cool effects and stuff. But it doesn't mean you have to oversimplify it and make it childish.
Absolutely. And I think, this is a little off topic, but I do think that National Treasure is a really solid example of a PG rated movie that was four quadrant because, kids go see it, you have adventure, then you have Nick Cage, and you get kind of a fun story, you get a treasure hunting thing. That was a huge blockbuster success. So I guess when you can make a PG movie that is also kind of like a four quadrant hit, I mean, you're gonna make money. And I mean, I guess
Yeah,
that's proof with Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, if you can keep your rating, PG basically, while appealing to, the broadest demographic possible, people are going to see it because, parents will actually enjoy taking their kids to see it. Teenagers can kind of go to it. Snobs will actually watch it and enjoy it for, its technical merits or its, whatever other pieces.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, I guess for like the parents going into this, I mean, this is 88 when, like not far removed from a lot more noirs being released, that kind of film. Like, what do you feel about the noir plot of this? Like, this is a children's movie with a noir and
It's
murder mystery involving patty cake.
Yeah, and they nail it as well. Like the whole tone of the noir side of it. It's straight out of, 20s, 30s pulp. It's just like you totally buy Valiant as this hardened PI who's kind of down on his luck. He's the archetype of this character, basically, this trope. He's got his kind of estranged girlfriend slash sort of kind of sassy lady kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you've got like the barflies and stuff, and he's got like his old police connections, and he's just kind of working the case and kind of gets dragged into it against his will somewhat. And they nail it. And part of that is down to Alan Silvestri. You've got the scoring, like the way
Oh
it's
gosh,
scored.
it's
You
insane.
have like for the more kind of sedate bits, you've got like very kind of noir, kind of just loads of sax, loads of kind of like jazzy kind of numbers. And then when you go to the tunes, it all gets a little bit manic. The most interesting thing I found was that he didn't actually score anything for Jessica. He basically just had the musicians watch it and live jam based on their feelings. Like he basically had these jazz musicians in, and they're just like, okay, just play what you feel when you see this scene, and that's how they came up with the kind of motifs that were used for Jessica, which is
Oh
kind of
wow.
crazy.
And the sax goes so hard whenever she's on. I don't mean that as like a yeah,
Euphemism.
yeah, yeah. I don't mean it like that. Actually, I mean, yeah, tequila. It was almost like tequila sunrise-esque sax playing in there. But yeah, then
Yeah.
it's interesting. They had to blend the the seriousness of the noir and then the tune world, and then they kind of had to make it seamless. Not kind of. They had to make it seamless. This is man, what a this is such a technical man. This yeah. No, I mean it's a classic though. So I guess what's nice about this movie is we're not talking about this as a cult classic. We're not talking about this as like a unseen gem or a critically loved movie that didn't do well at the box office. Like we're talking about this is a Stone Cold classic. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
this is like
nice.
a bona fide, like, it won 3 Oscars, I think.
Hmm.
And then there was that, special Oscar. I think it was nominated for 6, which for kind of an animated-ish movie. Like, I don't think it has quite enough animation to qualify for, best animated feature these days. I think you have to have over 75% animated, and I think it only had 55 minutes of its runtime animated, but it wouldn't have been far off. That would have been like the category I don't think existed back then, but that would have been an interesting one. Would this qualify to be best animated feature?
That's a great question. And you wonder about like all the VFX movies now, how heavy they are. Like when does that lean into animation as well? But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I love to. I think originally they thought like, yeah, like we'll only do like 14 minutes of animated, and then at the end when
yeah.
they asked Frank Marshall, he's like, yeah, we have 48 minutes, which is nuts. And imagine being the film editor on this, Arthur Schmidt. I mean, he won the Oscar and deservedly, but you know how much, man. So he had to put together the movie and know when to
But
stop
they
and
had
when
to
to,
put it in. Well, he had to put it together
and then
without any VFX and any animation because they couldn't change it once the animation was in. So they had to match the animation to what had already been cut. So he had to basically edit together this Invisible Man movie where it's like, okay, there's a rabbit there. I'm kind of cutting together what I've got from Bob Hoskins' performance and like Christopher Lloyd. And I know there's a rabbit here and I can hear the dialogue, but I don't, you don't have anything to work with. You just trust the animators to do their job.
oh gosh, what a tough gig. And then what's awesome? They took each frame, blew it up, and then they made a picture of it for animators to draw over it. Did you see in the behind the scenes documentary? It's just the one guy sitting there doing one
Yeah,
at a
he's just
time.
there, and he's just like doing one frame at a time. They reckon there was over 1 million drawings, I think, drawn for this movie.
Oh gosh, and I love the dude. I think it was Ken Ralston at ILM when he's talking about where like he's like, so far we've done 500 VFX shots. That's more than Back to the Future, and he rambled off Romancing the Stone.
Yeah,
He
he
rambled
was
off
like
about 5
several
movies.
Star Trek movies, and I think Empire, and
Yeah. Oh man,
yeah,
like it's such a flex mention, and then he was like, we're not halfway there yet.
yeah, I think
Just
they ended up over 1,000. Like, I think on one of the other ones I said they were talking probably to the same guy, and he was like, "Yeah, we did like 300 VFX for Jedi. This is already over 1,000."
and that makes me so happy that this movie's such a success. And it just lives on. Like its legacy does live on. I mean, I listened to everything on the 25th anniversary Blu-ray, which was stacked. It just I don't know, it makes me happy. And I just love a good noir story. And it just makes me also I guess we haven't talked about something, and we got to talk about Roger Rabbit. I mean, what do you think about Fleischer's performance in this? What do you think about the character himself?
He fits, I think, and this is something that Fleischer said himself, is just like, he could feel like Roger and how he should be, and he put like that kind of weird stuttery kind of, you know, inflection on.
Mm-hmm.
Zemeckis apparently loved it, so like that became the voice. But his performance, like,
Please.
apparently he was, walking around like wearing a rabbit costume on set, and like, getting really, they would do like a take with him and Bob Hoskins where they would just kind of perform, and then he'd have to go to his like booth, and then he would have to do the performance again from the booth basically, and Bob Hoskins would have to act essentially to the green screen, as it were, or to the like empty
Yeah,
scene.
he was so in character. And then he'd go to lunch and people would see him and be like, man, that movie's gonna be terrible. You see that rabbit? It makes me
Yeah,
so
the
but
rabbit picture.
that had to have helped Hoskins though. Actually, that had to have helped everybody on set, seeing how committed he was. Uh, just sometimes when you hear actors talking about being on VFX heavy films, like, yeah, I was just looking at a tennis ball, and I've seen tennis balls on set before. So yeah, I was looking at a tennis ball, I was getting nothing back, but it
Well,
had to have been.
that's what you see on, like, on the behind the scenes of almost every movie made in the last 15 years that's got a VFX character. The tennis ball has become the go-to kind of thing
Yeah.
for your eye line. It's like, basically, this tennis ball is your co-star. Get to know him beforehand. Maybe hit him up against a wall a couple of times, get a feel for him.
Go play. Oh man, that's
You might actually get a better performance out of them if you actually played with the tennis ball a little bit before working with it. At least you got the connection.
do a chemistry test with various tennis balls.
Be like, I kind of like this one. It really gives an edge to my serve. This one's a little bit soft. It's not getting quite the kick off the backhand.
Then you two become best friends. It's like Tom
Yeah.
Hanks and Wilson. And I guess that's what I like about Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn has Sean Gunn on set as Rocket, and then on Suicide Squad, the actor who played Stallone voiced King Shark, but there's a guy on set playing King Shark in the costume, like in the mocap. And so, I mean, the technology's moved to where they can do that, but I bet it was just great for Hoskins. Like Hoskins was kind of making fun. You know what I love? One of my favorite bits from the behind the scenes documentaries is when Hoskins, I guess, was saying something to Fleischer. He's like, "Why are you wearing the bunny suit?" And I guess Fleischer's like, "Have I talked about how you act?" He's like, "Fair enough." That's right. That's cool. I dig it. It's like here's Fleischer, and I really, if y'all haven't watched these behind the scenes documentaries, these voice actors are just giving it everything they have on set, and you can see the crew members around them just smiling and just watching them go for it. And just, I guess, Hoskins, they had the life size doll that they had. They would kind of shoot with that to give an idea, and then set eye lines and kind of all the movement. But yeah, Hoskins, he said he loved having him around, just belting that out in character at all moments. Man, what a great voice too. I mean, that's a what's interesting. A lot of people say that Roger Rabbit annoyed people, but I don't think he ever annoys me in this movie at all.
Oh, he's got a distinctive voice, but that's what you want from a cartoon character. You want to immediately be able to pick out, it's like, that's Bugs Bunny. And, when you hear like Mel Blanc, It's like, okay,